Guys, you need to pay attention right now. This signal is screaming that we have reached a bottom in Bitcoin and we're going to move much higher. I'm going to go into this signal. This is a Bitcoin chart on a high time frame. It goes all the way back to 14th of January 2015. Overlaid is the indicator called time goal date. And I'm going to tell you what this model is telling us. What this indicator does, the time goal day model, it analyzes the relationship between key moments in time when prices make an important turn in direction. For this model to generate a clear signal, it has to have two clear major shifts in price. And when we have those two data points, we can base on these two data points the third point as a way to calculate where to expect a major turn in the market. This is where Bitcoin comes in. Bitcoin had two major lows in its price history, one in 2015 and the other one in 2018. And these 2 points are major points where from that point on major bull markets started. These are key points in time and key moments in price. It turns out the number of days between these two dates is 1431 days. So with this number in mind, I asked myself, what would happen if I would just double this unit of account? So I did, and I ended exactly on the date when Bitcoin bottomed in 2022. So the obvious next ratio I explored was the golden ratio, 0.618. And when you get 1431 times 0.618, you get 884 days. Adding 884 days from the date of 15th of December 2018, which was the cycle low before the bull market of 2017, gives us a pivot date of 17th of May 2021. It is a bit of a letdown because the actual high was hit on the 14th of April 2021. So the signal was late and it was off by 34 days, a margin error of about 3.7%. But keep in mind, it did make a lower high. It made a complacency shoulder on the 10th of May, close to the pivot date of the 17th of May 2021. So let's see what this calculation would yield us if we would add this ratio of 0.618 added to the last pivot point, the cycle low of 2022 at the November low of Bitcoin. If we add 884 days onto the cycle low 21st November 2022 low, we will get a pivot date of 17th of April 2025. We have seen a low on the 7th of April a few weeks ago, and I think that bottom was the local low for this entire cycle, which went in a bear market starting in December in 2024, which afterwards started the whole tariff war, the whole narrative around it. So we are going to switch over into a bull market from here on. That's my opinion, based not only on this indicator and this calculation, also other price action. We will get into that in a bit. But I think this evidence is very strong. The data suggests we have a standard time unit of 1431 days, which is a very strong set of data. It's not a short time span. The longer the time span, the more reliable the calculation and the signal is. And I think with these signals at our hands, we have a very strong indication that we are going to move higher. So let's move on to the next part. Next, I want to zoom in on Bitcoin and look at this last year's price action and see how it has performed relative to the money supply called the M2. So this Bitcoin chart goes back to March 2024. Let's see how the supply of money has affected the price of Bitcoin. See, the graph in red represents the dollar amount in money supply called the M2. It is simply a way of measuring how much money is available in the economy. It includes the cash people have, money in their checking accounts, which they can spend easily, and also saving accounts and other deposits that take a little bit more effort to access. So basically, it's a broad look at the money people can use fairly quickly. At first glance, they don't seem to correlate in a meaningful way until you move the red line and move it 100 days to the right. And now all of a sudden things line up quite accurately. And it seems based on this analysis that Bitcoin price is lagging the global money supply roughly by about 100 days. The money supply has been going up and hitting the previous highs months ago, while Bitcoin has been going down. So if the correlation still holds, Bitcoin should be heading back to its previous high and potentially beyond. Shout out to Colin Talks Crypto, who made this subject available for everybody. He has some resources available, like the indicator that I've used as well, that you can overlay on the Bitcoin chart and on other charts. Let's zoom in a bit further on the Bitcoin chart. Starting from the January all-time high of 2025, the wave structure from the January high does not look clean in my opinion. There's no distinction in impulse structure visible, which makes me think we should consider labeling this as a corrective wave. And in the way I approach corrective wave structures is to look for side wave movements. For example, moving triangles are a category type that often occur in corrective waves, and I map them first because they are relatively easy to identify. They often can be labeled B waves as an initial count, and when we have this initial count, the remaining parts of the wave then should become easier to label. If I identify the part which is prior to the B wave and after the B wave as some type of impulse, then the likelihood increases that the count might be correct. If the two impulse waves also happen to alternate in form, according to the alternation rule, I become even more convinced of my count. And in this chart, this is actually the case. The first part of the wave is a slowly expanding leading diagonal, with each sub-wave being small corrective ABCs, and the second impulse wave down, the C wave, has nice clear impulse structure, with the center wave 3 being the longest. From an Elliott wave perspective, at the very least, this recent wave has been completed according to the ABC principle, after which we should expect either a continuation of the prior impulse wave that started from the November 2022 low, and theoretically, of course, it could continue into a bear market rally, making an X wave and then continuing in another ABC move to the downside like all the bears are expecting. But that's not what I'm expecting here. Let's move on. Let's have a look at the indicators. We have the MACD, we have the RSI, and we have the Bitcoin chart. What we see here is the bearish divergence. We have the Bitcoin price going down while the indicators are moving upwards. We have the MACD going up as well as the RSI going upwards. So this is a bullish divergence. This adds to our thesis that the bull market has started already, and we've seen it of course in the price already, but there is a bullish divergence going on here on the higher time frames. Moving on to the crypto market fear and greed index. I like this indicator because it has because it usually is a very good contrarian signal. What we see here is that the signal has hit a low twice, once in March and the other one was in April, 9th of April if I'm not mistaken. So the 9th of April was the last low on the CMC Crypto Fear and Greed Index. It hit a 15, which was 2 days after Bitcoin hit a all-time low. Not an all-time low, but a local low, I mean. And from that moment on, it hit a 53 again, and we are now in neutral territory. So this has also again shown that it is a great signal, signaling a bottom. The final market analysis that I want to share with you is the altcoin market. This chart is the total market cap, excluding the top 10 coins in terms of market cap. The chart starts from the bear market low in late 2022. And on this chart, there are two major turning points that I will use as the basis for the time goal day analysis, what we have been doing all this time in the earlier part of this video. The first turning point happened on the 10th of June 2023. The second turning point was the yen carry trade crash on the 5th of August 2024 that took the entire altcoin market to a major summer low before it started a run-up all the way till the end of the year. The number of days between these two dates is 442 days. When multiplied by 0.618, we get 261 days. Add this number of days to the second pivot date on the 5th of August 2024, when the yen carry trade crash was happening and hitting that day's low and the low of that year. We end up with a date of 23rd of April 2025 as the pivot date. So we're assuming that the actual low has already happened on the 7th of April. And again, this was off by about 2 weeks. It's been quite clear also in the altcoin market, these two pivot dates that I've used are different from the ones I used from the Bitcoin chart. So we have been using different angles to look at these events that are taking place in the altcoin market and in the crypto market in its entirety. And to end up with a basic analysis, we see a trend line breakout. This is the most obvious for anybody who thinks the other stuff is just a little bit of a mumbo jumbo. The price is starting to break out from this trend line, and it's as obvious as that. So I'm gonna leave it at that. So that is it for now. Stay tuned for more updates on the crypto markets. And I have loads of other charts to show you, but that's for another time. Peace.